All right. Welcome everyone to the quarterly.
Recording in progress.
Welcome again to the quarterly West Hill Community Association meeting. We're really glad that you're here, whether you're joining on the Zoom call, watching via Facebook, checking in later. Thank you for tuning in into what's going on in our community. This is our first quarterly of 2022, so Happy New Year. And yeah, let's get it started with community reports. And then we've got a couple really interesting presentations after the community reports. So Rebecca Berry, do you have something for the Skyway Coalition?
Hi, everyone. Yes, I do. Thank you. Hi, John. I see John just popped on. Hi, everyone. My name is Rebecca Berry. I'm the Skyway Coalition Manager. Very excited to be here tonight. Good to see some coalition faces, stewardship team members, and just excited to thank you for your advocacy with a lot of your work and investment in the work that we do with the coalition. We've seen a lot of really exciting investments and projects coming to Skyway. You know, we're working on getting the, sorry, is that feedback just for me? Okay, must be. Sorry. So yeah, we're working on bringing in a new community center soon. We have community investment participatory dollars coming to Skyway. There's just a lot of exciting things coming, and please do visit the Skyway Coalition website to sign up for our newsletter so you're able to stay connected and be connected with opportunities. We also have, I'm so excited to share, we have a new position that's becoming available at the coalition. I will be sharing that position out, so stay tuned, sign up for the newsletter, and just be on the lookout for that opportunity. And then, as always, we are looking to involve you more as members, and I'm going to go ahead and drop the form to sign up to be a member of the coalition. And again, just connect with a lot of ways to invest in the community and promote our equitable development in bringing affordable housing and economic growth to our community. So just looking forward to connecting with you. Visit our website for the newsletter, and happy to answer any questions at any time. My email is rebeccaberry@skywaycoalition.org. So thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. I forgot to say, if anyone is joining us on Zoom and would like to put questions into the chat for any of the community partners who are sharing updates, please feel free to do that, and we'll make sure that those questions get to the right people. All right. And Rebecca, thank you for sharing those resources. I'm sure that our tech folks will help make sure to get those out. All right. Do we have King County Local Services on the call? John Taylor or Kevin LeClaire, David Daw or Bong?
So I know that Kevin can't be here tonight, but I'm from Local Services if folks would like a mini update on the sub-area plan process. But other than that, I don't have the additional information.
Okay, thank you. We can also, we could cycle through the other community reports and then check back. And Nicole, if you'd like to share the update, that'd be great.
That sounds great.
Okay, great. I know that Cynthia won't be able to make it from Skyway Water and Sewer. I hope it's okay that I say this, but it's her birthday. And if you have any questions for Skyway Water Sewer, feel free to drop them in and we'll get them over to her. And I also know that Chief Eric Hicks won't be able to be joining us from King County Fire District 20. But we will move on to Randy Matheson from Renton School District. Do you have an update to share with us?
Hi, thanks for letting me take a few minutes tonight. Randy Matheson, Executive Director of Community Relations in the Renton School District. We have a couple of things we'd like to share with you. Of course, we recently had our replacement levy elections on the ballot February 8th. We've got 16 precincts in the Skyway area that are in our Renton School District. Great turnout, about 24% of voters turned out, which was consistent throughout our district. We had about 24% of our voters turn out. Passed with the overwhelming majority, 18,055 votes, 62 and 63% approval. So that was a super majority. We only need simple majorities to pass levies. So folks are supportive of their local schools, and that's always great to learn through these elections. And of course, the levy elections provide funding for a lot of things that are going to support our students and teachers throughout the next 4 years. Again, these were replacement levies, so they expire every 4 years, and we have to come back out to voters and ask for that continued support. Quick COVID update, cases throughout the county and throughout the state, cases within the Renton School District have dropped dramatically since the start of the calendar year. We started off as we came back from winter break in January with a lot of cases. A lot of students and staff and families had been contracting the new COVID variant as they came back to school. That has completely dropped off now. We're down to like 6 cases of students and 1 staff member each day. So it's considerably less. The governor is expected sometime soon, I think this week, to actually announce the removal of the face mask mandates, face mask mandates for inside. Outside, of course, is already has been stopped. We're not really sure exactly what that's going to mean for schools and school districts yet. What we think is going to happen is that the requirement for face masks is going to move then to local school districts and local healthcare departments, so move away from the state health department and the governor. So we're expected to get that information sometime this week, along with everybody else in the state, and then determine how we move forward with face masks in schools and some of the other protocols that we have in place for COVID. It's not completely gone. We all know that. And we will continue working with King County Public Health to make decisions about how to continue to keep students and staff safe while they're at school. One other update, we've got lots of construction projects going on at some of our larger schools, Lindbergh, Hazen, and Renton High School. These are construction projects approved by voters in November 2019. Hazen High School has a large pool. I don't know if anybody drives to Hazen to swim in that pool, but that pool is going to be closed down for probably a year as we completely renovate that pool. So hey, that's a big project at Hazen High School. Lindbergh High School has some significant work being done. Science classrooms and a upgrade to the entryway at the school to make it safer. And then at Renton High School, we're improving science classrooms there to locker rooms. You may know, and then again, you may not. So I'll share this information with folks. Renton High School is a very difficult school for us to do any kind of large scale work to. And it's the reason why the large field on the west end of the high school hasn't been touched for years, is because it actually sits on land that is believed to be archaeologically protected because of the Duwamish tribe. So anytime we want to put a shovel in the ground anywhere at Renton High School, we have to have our archaeologists come and do studies of what's in the ground and make sure that there's no burial grounds we're disturbing and so on, which extends the time and costs a lot of money. So we're looking at Renton High School now to do some work inside, but for future, we're just trying to decide how we can make that school equitable for our students. They don't have a play field or a ball field on site. They have to walk over to the stadium to use that. The other high schools do have that. So we're grappling with how we can improve Renton High School for students now and well into the future, given those archaeological restrictions that we have of doing things on the grounds there. But we do have some plans in place to improve interior-wise, again, the science classrooms and so on. So other work is being done at Dimmitt Middle School too, up in the Skyway area. And of course, we're always improving education for all of the students in all of our schools up on the West Hill We're seeing growth in those schools. So people obviously, as you know, are moving into the area and enrolling in those schools. And we'll have an update on student enrollment at some other time. So.
Thanks, Randy, for all of those updates.
Sure.
And yes, Renton High School is, I guess, where Skyway-West Hill students feed into. So that is pertinent to our community. All right, just wanted to circle back here. Skyway Water Sewer, I think we have, let's see, John Alt filling in for Cynthia. If there are any updates from John or any questions.
No, I don't have a report prepared. Cynthia asked me to sit in and see if there's anything she needed to know about. I'm here.
Okay, great. So feel free to drop questions that John can take back to Cynthia regarding Skyway Water Sewer. With that, is there anyone here from the King County Sheriff Office? Yes, great, Joe Hodgson. I might have said that wrong.
It was pretty good, actually. Most people don't do well with it, but you did well, so great. Hello, everybody. I'm Joe Hodgson. For anybody who doesn't know me, I'm the major at the precinct down at our Burien station that covers the West Hill Skyway area. I don't have a lot to report tonight. I do have some basic crime stats that just I want to run over, things that have occurred in the month of January. We did see a significant increase in commercial burglaries for the month, and that's very troubling. It's not inconsistent with a pattern we've been seeing in other parts of our jurisdiction, including White Center and SeaTac and Burien. I'm not sure who the culprits are. I know we've made a few arrests for a few individuals, but obviously there are still some out there and still plying their trade, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it. And so the commercial locations are getting hit a little bit hard. Generally, we also saw a substantial increase in vehicle prowls, and those jumped up quite a bit. And again, when I say quite a bit, we have to speak in relative terms. We're talking about moving from 1 total in December to 7 total in January. So, and like most crimes, one individual or one group of individuals can kind of wreak havoc in a single night or in a single week and hit multiple targets and raise our stats. So it kind of comes down to tracking them down. And unfortunately, I will report that crimes in general were on the increase in January. There was only a couple categories we actually saw decreases in criminal activity. Again, this is not inconsistent with what we're seeing all over our precinct, and frankly, all over the region. Other cities and other King County precincts are all seeing generalized increases in crime. The only things we saw come down, there were residential burglaries and firearms violations, which given the tone of what's going on all over the nation, the decrease in firearms violations is nice to see. But again, we're talking 1 month, and I don't want to say that there's a trend just yet, but good news no matter how you look at it. The big news for us right now is we are working our way through some very substantial staffing concerns. We're up to 100 vacancies in the sheriff's office right now. It's hovering right around 100. It might have gone just over, or it might still be sitting at about 99. Whatever the case, we are significantly short on personnel, and that shortage is causing us to have to do some rearranging in our staffing, and it's going to change the way we're doing things. And some people might already be familiar that we've switched over to alternative call handling. If you've had the unfortunate occasion to have to call on us recently to report something, there's a good chance you're referred to go ahead and make the report online, as opposed to having a deputy come out, depending upon what the nature of that crime is. And that's something that's going to become, or actually is now, the preferred method for some of the property crimes with no suspect information or no evidence available is we will give you a case number and let you make that report online. Those reports will be reviewed and looked at for patterns and possible solvability factors, but they're not going to be done by a deputy on scene at this time. We're also looking at redeployments. Some of our property crimes detectives are now being redeployed out to patrol, so there won't be as much follow-up on property type crimes anymore. And it's not good news, but I don't think it's fair not to let you know what's going on with us. We are moving our force to make sure we are responsive to emergency calls for service. That's the highest priority, and then we will try to work through how we're going to do follow-ups as we continue forward and try to prioritize and continue that activity. But we're going to be a little bit hampered. The only other thing I had to mention is that today I was notified that Captain Pete Horvath, for those of you who have met him, he is now being transferred to our North Precinct. And effective next month on the 1st of March, we will be getting Captain Heather Volpe coming to the precinct. She's coming to us from our comm center and has experienced most of her experiences in the north end of the county, working as a deputy and a sergeant up there, and then getting promoted to captain and going to our comm center. And now she's coming out to do operations at Precinct 4. She carries a great reputation, and I'm looking forward to working with her. That's about all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Joe. We'll monitor the chat and we'll see if there's anything coming in from the Facebook stream and get any questions your way. But we appreciate the update and, you know, some transparency to explain what's going on in the community. So thanks. We did have one question come in for Skyway Water Sewer. So I think we still have John with us. Any updates on the pause for collecting late fees or liens and other charges? What was the end date for those actions?
I'm not sure the exact date. I believe was the end of last month. And unfortunately, there's quite a few people who have not signed up for a payment plan. We are anticipating a large amount of shutoffs, I believe, on the 23rd. It's unfortunate, but we actually carried our pause of collecting late fees for another month beyond what the state asks us to do. And we're all very well aware of the hardships people are going through, but we don't have much choice in the matter. So hopefully many more people will jump into the payment plans. That date may have passed, but it would be wise if you are in need of making a large payments that you get in touch with Skyway Water and Sewer as soon as possible to work out something. Because again, last meeting, we talked of the potential of over 200 shutoffs.
Thank you. John, are you able to share contact information or the website to find, just some information about the payment plan, even if perhaps the deadline has passed, but who folks should contact?
Just skywaywaterandsewer.org, I believe. I can look it up in a minute. I'm not used to looking at it, so.
Well, that's great. Thank you. Thanks for letting us know about that. And let's see. So we'll move on from that to Child Haven. I think John Gould is here to speak a bit about that.
Thank you, Fan. Hello, everyone. I'm John Gould from Child Haven, and we are the proud owners and operators of Cynthia Green Family Center, just off of 76th Avenue South and Renton Avenue South. And we're members of the Skyway Coalition, active in the Renton Innovation Zone project. And this is my first West Hill meeting. So thank you for welcoming me. I wanted to just give a quick report about a potential affordable housing and early learning mixed use project in Skyway. I'm happy to come back at any time and give more details about it. I'm not asking for any kind of decision of any kind now, but it is in the early stages, and I thought it would be good to let you all know what's cooking. So Child Haven does early learning and mental health, and we are considering partnering with a affordable housing developer and operator, the Low Income Housing Institute. Some of you may know them. They operate progressive Skyway Tiny House Village and have about 70 low-income housing properties in the region. And we currently are looking at a site that is next to the 7-Eleven on the Renton side. There are actually 3 vacant parcels of land that Lehigh has put a purchase and sale agreement on. And they together would represent about 18,000 square feet. Lehigh would develop the affordable housing, and Child Haven would do 4 to 5 early learning classrooms. As you all know, this location is an excellent location to bring affordable housing into the community. It is right across from the Skyway Resource Center. It shares a backyard with the post office. It's right across from the library, and is really part of the Skyway Business District. So we're in the feasibility phase of this project, looking to get feasibility done by the end of March. If we do close on the property, then we would enter probably about an 18-month fundraising and financing period, and construction would likely begin in 2024. We don't know the details of the housing. We seek to do subsidized, permanent, affordable rental housing. Ideally affordable to people at 30 to 50% of area median income. Child Haven early learning classrooms would be the state's preschool program, which is known as ECAP. It kind of mirrors the Head Start program. So it'd be free full day preschool. And we'd hope to serve 120 kids if we were able to get 5 classrooms out of that space. So again, it's in the feasibility phase, but we're really looking forward to really robust community engagement. If we decide that this is a go, I'd be happy to come back here, talk to you more about the project. We work a lot with the Skyway Coalition and are bringing a community engagement plan to the Skyway Coalition a week from tomorrow. And I put my name and email in the chat, and really happy to stick around for the next few minutes to see if there are questions in the chat, but also would really welcome questions and hearing from you anytime. Thank you, Finn.
Thank you, John, for that update. Yeah, if there are any questions that folks have or wonderings about this project, feel free to voice them here. I'm going to move on, but we can always circle back if some pop in. So I wanted to give it over to Khadija Jackson with the King County Metro Van Program.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I just wanted to share an update about the Community Van Program and start off by thanking West Hill Community Association for putting the program in the newsletter that went out to the residents out in January. From that newsletter, we did have our first and was returned in good condition, and it was a great trip. And so with that being said, we also have an upcoming trip to the Skyway Resource Center on February 25th. So we have a volunteer driver who's available to drive, and there's also a flyer that is out. I can also drop it in the chat for others to share on their networks that can. But just trying to gain riders to reach out to me and book a ride to get to the Resource Center on the 25th and also get vaccines. And as we're continuing on with doing more trips, we're still looking for volunteer drivers. And so if you know anyone who's interested, please share them my contact information. And lastly, I would like to all of you guys to follow the page to learn more updates and to be able to share out with other community members. Thank you.
Thanks, Khadija. We lost you there for a few seconds, but I think you mentioned you're going to share a website that folks can go to learn more about the program. Is that correct?
Sorry, yes, our Facebook page. Please like us on our Facebook group page. Yes.
Okay, got it. Great, thank you. If there are any folks who have questions about the community metro van program, go ahead and share those, and we'll definitely get them to Khadija. And thanks for that link. See that they're in the chat. And we also have, typically we have a community report from Chief Eric Hicks from King County Fire District 20. I'm not sure if I mentioned that already, but he won't be joining us tonight. But if you have any questions for him, feel free to drop that in as well, and we'll make sure they get over to KCFD. All right, just wanted to check before we move into the main presentations. Do we have anyone here from the Envision Resource Center, US Bank Building? Ryan Quigtar? Nope, okay, we'll move along. Anyone here from Olajuwon's Hands? Rihanna Brown? Okay, and then I see that Josh Sales joined us. We did already have an update from Deputy Major Joe Hodgson, but if you'd like to share anything, you are welcome to.
I don't really have too many updates. Obviously, hoping that we get out of this winter sooner than later as March approaches. Hopefully, it gets a little bit warmer. The Skyway walks will be starting back up, so I will be having that together. So you will see more of a footbeat patrol along the local businesses up to the grocery outlet, like I did a lot last year. So that is upcoming. Me and Miss Ayana will probably start working on some things for some ideas that I have coming up here in the next couple of months for some community projects. We're also interviewing for our community resource officer because we do not have Scott Duggan anymore. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. He retired. So we're looking to fill that position however we can. We're in an interview process right now. Obviously, they'll work very closely with me and along with other community organizations to do partnerships with some programs and things like that. So I will keep you guys updated on that.
Thank you. All right, so we've gone through the community reports that I have here on the agenda. Is there anyone else who has a community report that was not able to share yet before we move into the main presentations? Okay, first up for a main presentation, we have Nicole Sanders with King County Permitting Division. Great.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Nicole Sanders. I'm a green building principal planner from permitting, which was already said. I'm going to share my screen. So I have a PowerPoint to walk through. I'm actually gonna turn off my video here. Alrighty. Sorry, I'm having a bit of technical stuff. All right, we're gonna fix this. Yay, okay, wonderful. So I'm here today to present on 3 topics. An affordable housing rebate for installing electric vehicle or EV charging equipment, whether to require mitigation of greenhouse gases for larger projects, and whether to require new fossil fuel facilities to provide financial coverage from potential impacts. These are all topics we're doing research on, and we wanted to let folks know that this research is ongoing. It provides, for at least one of these, this presentation will provide information on upcoming county legislation. It also provides an opportunity to answer questions and provide some direction on when to comment if that's of interest. The presentation is about 10 to 12 minutes. I won't be able to see chats as we go, but we'll have time for questions. I'll have a brief pause after the first 2 topics, and then more time for questions at the end. And I'll also provide my contact information at that time in case anyone wants to reach out independently. So that's the outline. We'll just dive right in. So in 2021, codes were adopted that require most new larger development to install electric vehicle or EV charging equipment in unincorporated King County, and to prepare additional stalls for future chargers with wiring. This helps us to plan ahead as we expect EVs to become increasingly common. In 2022, the King County Council asked us to research a possible rebate for affordable housing developments to offset the cost of complying with EV charging requirements. The funding is not certain, but it is a future possibility. And since affordable housing is a regional issue of interest, we're letting people know this research is occurring in case local community associations or residents want to comment or know more. The research will be going through which types of affordable housing developments the rebate should apply for, the cost of such a program to the county, potential outside funding sources, and protocols of what to do if rebate requests exceed the available funds in any given year. This is the basics of this research report. I'm going to do one more topic and then I'll take questions on both. Another research project we're doing right now is around greenhouse gas project mitigation. In 2022, County Council asked us to research whether we should require larger projects to mitigate greenhouse gases. In this case, mitigate probably means either absolute emission reduction requirements or requiring developers to purchase offsets or credits toward their emissions, which is essentially paying someone else to pollute less. For context, this research request came out of comprehensive plan updates being conducted in 2019 and 2020. And then since then, two things have really gotten underway in terms of state legislation. The first of these is the Climate Commitment Act, passed in the state last year, which sets emissions reductions and a carbon cap and trade program, essentially, for entities emitting over 25,000 metric tons per year, which is estimated to address 75% of emissions from these large emitters. Additionally, this act preempts or essentially blocks a local government, such as the county, from requiring those emitters to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions more, because the state law is theoretically already taking care of that. And this law, I'll say real quick, is scheduled to go into effect in 2023. In addition to this legislation, there's also a governor's directive called the Greenhouse Gas Assessment for Projects, which is looking at a similar program starting at an even lower threshold, or those emitting over 10,000 metric tons a year. So even more of the state's overall emissions in this arena are being addressed. Given the schedules issued by the state for these two items, we probably won't know how well these are working programmatically until 2024 or 2025. So amid this flurry of activity, we are recommending to council that we not pursue legislation at this time on this topic, but instead wait to see until the dust settles at the state level to see where we can be most effective on the other end. So those are the two kind of standalone research projects. Any questions on these two items? Okay. We can always come back to these as well. So this is the main topic I wanted to discuss. In 2022, council asked us to research possible new fossil fuel facilities that could be built in the unincorporated area, their impacts on the county and community, and whether those fossil fuel industries have financial coverage for these impacts. Financial coverage means that they would have enough insurance or bonds, et cetera, to cover the full extent of their potential impacts. So our initial research direction is to understand what types of facilities are buildable in King County's unincorporated area and would fall under the county's permitting jurisdiction. After that, research the range of potential impacts and their costs, and then research if it's fairly certain those costs will be covered, or if that coverage is indeterminate, or are we unsure about the coverage level to the extent that we'd want to require more financial coverage from this hypothetical developer. We were also asked to look at specific potential impacts, including water pollution and oil spills, air emissions, brownfields, and then explosion and fire. So to walk through this conversation, I'll discuss first which facilities we narrowed down to, where those facilities may be built, and what their potential impacts might be. Okay, so facilities that could be built in the unincorporated area and fall under county permitting. We have an oil terminal, an LNG plant, or a plant that produces liquefied natural gas, and a plant that generates electricity from burning natural gas. Two of these are classified as fossil fuel facilities in King County Code. I will note this category does not include electricity generation. The gas electricity plant in King County Code is classified as a non-hydroelectric generation facility, which is a lot of words to basically mean things that create electricity that aren't dams or renewables. In terms of where these can be built, the oil terminal and LNG plant have to be developed within an industrial zone. In contrast, non-hydroelectric generation facilities can be developed within all zones. This is partially because there are some unusual but important uses that could fall into this definition, like a backup generator building for a hospital might be in this group. These still require a special use permit though. They have to cross some additional hurdles to get permitted. And then two, although they can be built in all zones, there might be issues doing that in reality, often because a lot of zones have really small property areas, and these really need larger areas for development. I'll also note that there are no existing facilities of these types in King County currently. In fact, PSC has about 9 gas electricity plants in the state, and none of them to date have been located in King County. But we still want to be prepared on this, even though the probability of these getting built in King County is fairly low. Okay, so that covers what could be built. Let's discuss impacts. Across the categories we were asked to review, we don't think water pollution and air emissions require additional financial coverage based on our research. So those are checked off here. However, brownfields and the possibility of fire or explosion are items that warrant a deeper dive. So for starter, brownfields refers to sites that have contamination or are believed to have contamination that typically require assessment or cleanup before they can be redeveloped. This is not a huge risk for gas, electricity, and LNG plants, but it is a risk for oil terminals. Both at the state and national level, liability or responsibility for cleanup of a property stays with the property owner or the operator long term. So that reduces the risk to the public on this item. But those risks might increase if the property owner goes bankrupt. There is a hazardous substances tax at the state that could potentially help fund cleanup, though there is some uncertainty with the degree or amount of coverage. Because the risks are in some ways lower and there may be other avenues to address brownfields, we are currently looking to require a decommissioning plan from new oil facilities, where they'd have to list the hazardous products used or generated on site, list the range of potential spill volumes, and list costs for third-party cleanup. Requiring this plan may influence the substances brought on site, how they are handled, and may influence required mitigations when these projects undergo environmental review prior to their development. The other item we're thinking of addressing has to do with the risk of explosion and fire. This also is not a huge risk for gas electricity plants. It is somewhat more of a risk for LNG and oil terminals, but it is an item we would like all 3 facility types to address. The risk of a fire that also leads to an explosion is low overall, as these incidents are pretty rare, but they have occurred in the past at different locations globally. So we want to be like property damage. The highest damage to people and structures tend to be concentrated at the facility itself and in the immediate site area. But sometimes from quite a distance away, you can still get windows that crack. You can get roofing tiles that get blown off, cladding that comes off the side of the house. And the cumulative impacts can get very expensive, especially when they're combined with something like having to rebuild a plant or a part of a plant because the facilities have been damaged. So even explosions that have had very low injury levels have resulted in property damage that we want to make sure is that the operator would have the funds to cover. So we are contemplating requiring an explosion risk evaluation for all of these facility types that are prepared by a credentialed professional, that undergo third-party review, and that the facility must provide evidence of equivalent financial coverage. In addition to ensuring that these facilities have proper coverage, this analysis may influence plant layout. It can influence materials handling in such a way that it ultimately also reduces the risk level. So that's another reason we would like these facilities to undergo this type of advanced planning. So that's it on the new requirements. I do want to emphasize that the overall probability of these facilities getting built within King County is low, even very low. This is because land assembly challenges where there's probability that projects would have to assemble multiple pieces of land to get enough space for development, which increases costs. And then already land costs are very high in King County compared to other areas. It's often cheaper for builders of these type of facilities to buy land that is not as expensive as King County. There are a lot of existing site and development restrictions in current code that developers would face here that they wouldn't face elsewhere. And then existing development patterns and other planned developments indicate low chances of such facilities located in county. Again, this refers to the existing PSE thermal electricity plants where they don't have any located in King County. And then even the LNG proposal that's been undergoing some scrutiny in Tacoma. If that's getting built there, the probability of one getting built, relatively close to there is also unlikely. So low probability, maybe very low probability of these facilities getting built, but it's of course better to be prepared. And then two, King County codes not infrequently can influence codes adopted elsewhere in the state. So we're also really mindful that this can help set a best practice for these types of facilities. Quickly go through the schedule. This is the timeline for the proposed code changes. We're currently in an internal review stage this month in February. We plan to take the ordinance out to public comment on March 30th for 3 weeks. We wanted to give folks a chance to learn about this item in advance of that comment. If any folks have questions, we can answer them over email or here tonight. That way, there's a lot of hopefully time for input. Then after the public comment finishes mid-April, we'll revise materials April to June and then transmit to County Council on June 30th, at which time the council will review the ordinance and decide if they wish to pursue action on this item. So that's all the prepared materials. I'm happy to answer questions or go back also, because I know we spent most of the time of this presentation on this bigger topic.
Thank you, Nicole. That was a lot of really good information. I don't see any questions coming in right now, but we'll make sure that your contact information and the link to add comments is available to folks.
Excellent. Thank you.
Great. Okay. I just wanted to circle back because I saw that Ayana Brown joined the meeting. So I wanted to ask if you had any community update or report about Olajuwon's hands.
Yes, I do. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We are underway with planning Olajuwon's community family reunion. Last year ended up being a community resource. It was vaccines and WIG and mental health and Orca cards. It was just a fantastic event. And so I am underway with trying to do that again. So I have been speaking with Miss Martine Pierre-Louis and Miss Devin Love, and that's under works with trying to get it done again. I've already talked to Erin at Grocery Outlet, and she is agreeing to host us, to let us host it there again at the Grocery Outlet. And so if we can pull this off, same bat time, same bat channel, April 29th. I think last year we started dealing with the public right at 12 noon, and we were done at 7. So again, that's what we're trying to do again this year. So just keep your eyes and your ears peeled for that, for the another community resource event for that Elijah One's Hands will be putting on. And so this year, one of the things that I was striving for or asking about is since the vaccine is now available for younger kids, if maybe we can get that that done. Again, I really don't know what all is going to happen. This is all preliminary meeting. We're just seeing what what hands we can get on deck. And I believe that the 29th is a Friday this year. So Friday, April 29th, grocery outlet, a repeat of the community resource that we did last year. And thank
Great.
you.
Thank you for sharing that. I look forward to it. Okay, so under main presentations, do we have Rashd here with the Reimagining Public Safety presentation? That's okay. We'll go on and we'll come back if he does join. All right, we have an executive summary of the SR 900 corridor study in Skyway by Maan. Please correct me if I didn't say that right. Okay, take it away.
Hello, I'm Maan Sidhu with WSDOT. I'm in our Northwest Traffic office, and I'm joined by Thomas Noyes. Thomas, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, good evening. I'm Thomas Noyes, Senior Transportation Planner with WSDOT. I'm working with Maan on the SR 900 study in Skyway.
And unfortunately, my computer is restarting. So Thomas, are you able to share your screen
Sure.
and the presentation?
I'm unable to share. It says I'm disabled from sharing. Can I share? Or
I think our host can set it so you'll be able to share. Just give it a moment.
Okay, I'm gonna close my video because I don't want to use too much bandwidth here.
Jeremy, are you able to set it so that Thomas Noyes can share his screen? Great, we got a thumbs up.
Okay, bear with me. Can everyone see my presentation now?
Yes.
Good. Again, thank you all for having us tonight. We have a very short presentation. I know we only have about 10 minutes, but Maan and I wanted to just give you all communities a quick briefing on this study we've been doing on State Route 900 in kind of the Skyway-West Hill community. You can see the map here, the limits of our study, basically from the Renton city limits down to 57th Avenue, just before it kind of goes down the hill to I-5. Going to the next slide here, trying to go to slideshow. Sorry, bear with me. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm having a problem here.
Yeah, maybe hit escape there, Thomas, and just go back to the
okay.
PowerPoint.
Sorry. So just a quick overview on our background of our study, the engagement we did with the community, and then the focus really primarily wanted to just share with you all the recommendations and what we're doing in the proposals for this section of State Route 900 and the next steps in this process. And again, what's no surprise, probably what a lot of the needs that you all are very familiar with in the community, issues with pedestrian and traveler safety, multimodal access. There's not a lot of good pedestrian crossings across this high-speed surface arterial that really kind of serves as a barrier to the community. So we really wanted the community to understand what your needs and issues were, and that was really what drove this study. Partnership effort. We work with you all here in the West Hill Community Association, King County, several divisions of King County, the roads, Metro Transit, the City of Renton, number of partners here. We did do a formal invitation to 5 tribes, sort of a formal state government to government consultation process, but they did not participate. Community engagement, we did this last year, actually starting the fall of 2020. It was all online due to the pandemic. We did an online public web survey. We did an online open house. We had a web page. We did do postcard mailers. We reached out to the community. We sent communications in 4 different languages, reflecting obviously the diversity and different communities that we're trying to work with. This is just a quick snapshot of our survey results. Top level, again, a lot of things here that will not be a surprise to all in the community. Concerns about high speeds, there really aren't a lack of sidewalks along the corridor, poor illumination or lack of illumination, traffic congestion. I think this call out box here is kind of a nice summation, really telling the whole story from the survey, that basically concerns about cars zooming up on you while you're walking, there's not enough space to walk on the north side of 900, and that's really kind of in a nutshell what a lot of the major concerns were that we heard. Excuse me, I'll launch in now to the next slides. We just have a couple slides showing the recommendations, and we'll let Maan speak to these because this is what I'm sure you all are most interested in. So I would also just like to briefly note that this is a preliminary planning study, and we really did focus on, again, multimodal connectivity, safety, needs of the pedestrians. We're not looking to do any congestion relief here. We're not looking to do any widening of the highway. And also the recommended concepts that we're going to present to you, there currently is no funding to implement any of these. So there's no funding for design, no funding for construction. However, there are several potential funding programs out there right now. And we have worked with Senator Saldana's office about potentially funding ongoing design to continue into construction. So there's some potential promise that we may get funding to keep things moving ahead, but just to be clear, there's currently no funding for construction. So with this next slide, I will turn over to you, Maan. This is the first recommended section.
Thank you, Thomas. So what we have in the next couple of slides here are the State Route 900 corridor broken up into 4 segments. And we've got the segment from 57th to South 129th on the top, and then from South 129th to South 133rd on the bottom here. And what this is illustrating is a completion of sidewalk on State Route 900 on both sides. And that sidewalk width we are identifying as a 10-foot sidewalk path, so that both pedestrians and folks who choose to roll to community markets or to the bus stops, they can do so. We're also identifying pedestrian scale illumination for those times when it's dark outside. And then also we're incorporating landscape features to help give that driver environment that you're in a more residential area. As we move to the intersection of South 129th, we're identifying improvements for ADA accessibility at that location as well. Next slide, Thomas. At the intersection of 133rd, on the top half of the slide here, we are identifying and recommending a new traffic signal, and that will do 2 things. One, it will help correct a history of angle crashes that have been observed at this intersection involving drivers making an eastbound left turn to northbound South 133rd Street being struck by westbound SR 900 drivers. And this will also provide pedestrian connectivity north-south. So folks walking down South 133rd coming to State Route 900, they'll be able to cross to the south side of SR 900. On the bottom half of the slide, the notable item on this slide is the addition of a signalized pedestrian crossing in the vicinity of the Creston Point Apartments. So there's a bus stop in the eastbound direction of SR 900 at Creston Point Apartments. The signalized pedestrian crossing will help facilitate the movement of folks from that bus stop to the residences that are on the north side of SR 900 for the folks who are living up South 135th and beyond. Next slide, please. So in addition to completing full sidewalk facilities on SR 900 from the previous slide concepts, we're also recommending a roundabout, multi-lane roundabout at the South 129th Street intersection. And this is going to do a few things. One is help address the concern of speed on the corridor. Currently, State Route 900 operates as a higher speed facility. And one of the strategies to help reduce speed, operator speed, is roundabouts, because you're physically putting a feature in the roadway that will induce driver slowing. The second thing that this will do is help provide better access to and from the community markets at the 129th intersection. So for folks who are at the convenience store on the northeast quadrant, if they want to go back east to South 129th, they can essentially exit to the roundabout on South 129th, basically make a U-turn through the roundabout, and then head back east. Likewise, for folks who are at the convenience store in the south east quadrant, if they want to go to I-5, they can make the right turn to South 129th, go through the roundabout, make a left turn, and then head back north up to I-5. To support pedestrian connectivity at the intersection, we're also identifying rectangular rapid flashing beacons. So these are very brilliant, and as the name implies, rapidly flashing beacons to capture driver attention and to help reinforce that driver stopping behavior for pedestrians who are wanting to cross at 129th here. Next slide, please. So this is a little bit small, and we'll certainly put a link in the chat to our study website. But this graphic gives a summary of the overall recommendations for the corridor. Sidewalk on both sides of SR 900, that sidewalk being 10 feet in width with pedestrian scale illumination and landscaping. The new signal at 133rd to support the eastbound left turn to South 133rd. The signalized pedestrian crossing at the vicinity of Creston Point Apartments and 135th, and the multi-lane roundabout at South 129th Street. And as Thomas had mentioned, these concepts are unfunded, but there are avenues that we're exploring to secure funding so that we can continue to move forward in keeping momentum for these corridor recommendations. Next slide, please. So for next steps, we'll be posting these recommendations on our study website. We're also composing a report, and once that's in final format, that'll also be available on our study website. We'll also be looking to incorporate the recommendations from these studies in WSDOT and partner agency plans. And as we mentioned, we are pursuing funding sources. Next slide. So the last slide has our contact information. Our study website also has our contact info. and I will work on dropping a link in the chat to our study website.
Do you want me to do that, Maan, or do you want to do that?
If you could do that, Thomas, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll do that. And I will stop sharing now unless there are any questions.
Thank you, Thomas and Maan, for sharing that.
Thank you.
A lot of good visuals to be able to kind of imagine that area. So that's really good.
Actually, I do have a question. Can we go back to slide 9 for a moment?
Sure. Bear with me for a moment while I get this back up.
Okay. Thank you.
I seem to have lost my share connection here. Is there something I need to do?
You should still be able to see the share screen button down at the bottom. But I do see one question that we could go to before maybe going back to that slide. Sunnie Park has asked, are you planning on adding any bus routes along the SR 900 corridor? If potential fundings come through, what potential expected timeline for implementation?
Go ahead, Thomas.
Oh, sorry, man. I was just going to speak to it briefly. Again, Metro Transit is the transit provider for service along the corridor. This is a high density transit route already with the routes 100, 101, Renton to Seattle commuter services. I don't think we got into a lot of detailed discussions with them about future transit service levels. And again, the focus of this study is really near term. So we're looking at operational and near term low cost investment improvements to, again, primarily address pedestrian access and safety. I think Metro Connects is their long range plan. I'm not familiar with what their future plans are for service along this corridor, but we did not really address specifically new levels of transit service on the corridor beyond what's in Metro's plans. But maybe, Maan, you could add some other context that I missed.
All right. No, I think that's a comprehensive answer. We've been coordinating with King County Metro, exploring potential alternatives for stop placement or additions along the corridor for additional stop placement. Otherwise, the Metro Connects plan would be the latest available information on any potential future route planning. As far as implementation for the recommended strategies, the most optimistic timeframe, if we were to be funded, would be construction starting in 2024. Again, that's the most optimistic timeframe. I'd say biggest hurdle is funding and finding those various funding sources. And so as we come across grant opportunities, we will be pursuing those at various levels.
My question on this is, the Allentown Bridge is closed right now, and that's a recent change, and I don't know when I love this idea, this would be part of my commute, but currently semis are coming north on 900 and turning west on 129th. And they're also coming south on 900 and turning west on 129th, going down to the transfer yard.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love this idea, but I don't know when that bridge is going to get repaired. This would not work. I mean, I love it because the semis are already blocking traffic, especially the ones that are coming south and trying to turn right, because that corner, it's not wide enough to make that corner. And then this roundabout, there's no way a combination truck could make that turn.
All right, so the roundabout as it's shown is conceptual level. There's definitely refinement that would happen in the design phase. And we would definitely ensure that combination trucks, box trucks, all the way up to the larger, what we call WB67s, the trucks with the 67-foot long semi-trailer would be accommodated for all movements in this roundabout. So for the southbound to westbound movement, southbound in this picture, southbound SR 900 to westbound South 129th, certainly that will be a tight radius, but that's that is a highlight corner that we will need to address in design to make sure that those trucks that are coming from I-5 that need to make that turn, that they can make it. And so that's something that will be highlighted and verified through our design process, and then before we even get to construction.
Are you concerned, not as an individual, but also as WSDOT, as the weight of the trucks going over that bridge, because over I-5, because there are weight limits on it, and we're seeing, fully loaded semis lined up on top of it. That, there's no way that all of them are underweight. That bridge has got to be stressed.
Well, I would have to check back with folks who are more familiar with structural issues than I am. I'm more of a traffic guy. So I'm glad you highlighted that, and we'll have to get our heads together and see what the issues are that are preventing trucks from continuing across I-5 on that bridge.
Thank you. We also had another
for us, though, and definitely appreciate that. And I just wanted to also note that with this roundabout concept, and again, as Maan has indicated, this is conceptual at this point. The buses that are using this corridor are metro buses. A lot of them are articulated buses, so they're fairly long wheelbases as well. So the final roundabout design would be designed to accommodate presumably all vehicles, again, trucks as well as buses. And we will work with Metro Transit and with freight interests as we proceed into the design process.
And then there was one other question from Darlene, and I think one of your slides might show this well, but will there be any signal lights on 129th?
So it depends on how things are phased with the recommended strategies. For example, if sidewalks are implemented before the roundabout, there will still be the signalized intersection in place as it is today, but with improvements to improve pedestrian connectivity. If we're fully funded for the entirety of the SR 900 recommended strategies, then the roundabout will also be in place along with the other strategies that we showed. And the roundabout would be yield control, which is typical for roundabouts, and then to enhance the pedestrian crossings at the roundabout, there will be a beacon system. So there'll be beacons on the outside shoulders of the roundabout, but also in the median, in the middle of the roundabout. And those will be the very bright yellow, rapidly flashing beacons to get driver attention, so that drivers stop for pedestrians, which is the law in Washington State.
Thank you. All right, if there are any additional questions, feel free to post them in the chat or communicate them through Facebook Live, and we'll make sure we get them on to Maan and Thomas. Okay, Thomas, are you able to stop sharing your screen?
Yes, I'll go ahead and stop sharing now. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, moving along, we've got Yasmeen Perez from King County Department of Community and Human Services. Awesome, thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Yasmeen Perez. I work with the Department of Community and Human Services on equitable development and anti-displacement, and I'm also leading the Skyway $5 million Fund for Affordable Housing RFP process. And I'm joined tonight by Valerie Kendall. I see you just turned your video on, as well as Joanna Armstrong. Joanna Armstrong and I are going to do a quick presentation. Joanna, do you want to introduce yourself quickly before I share my screen?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joanna Armstrong. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the RFP coordinator for this funding opportunity. And Jim Gayton, who is the head of the contracting and procurement team at Department of Community and Human Services, is here too.
Great. So there's plenty of us if you have questions. We do have some slides. Finn, am I able to share my screen?
Yes, Jeremy, could you just make sure? There we go.
Okay. All right, hopefully that is loading into full screen mode. Thank you, West Hill Community Association, for letting us be part of the agenda tonight. We are here to share some information about a new funding opportunity through King County Department of Community and Human Services. The Skyway $5 million Fund for Affordable Housing request for proposals was released on January 19th. So we're here to share a little bit about it. This is sort of an abridged version of information we shared at the info sessions for the RFP. So there are video recordings of the full info session and access to the slides that you can find online at the same location as where you can find the RFP. So I'm going to put that in the chat really quick. And if you have any questions, hopefully we'll have time to answer questions tonight as well. So what is this fund about? The purpose of this fund is to invest $5 million to support equitable, community-driven, affordable housing development located in the Skyway-West Hill neighborhood. The fund is a result of years of community organizing. Skyway advocates worked with Councilmember Zahalai to secure $5 million from the 2021-2022 Housing and Community Development Biennial Budget. And this funding is the first county investment in affordable housing in Skyway-West Hill in over a decade. The primary objectives of the fund are to invest in new affordable housing that can serve Skyway-West Hill residents who are vulnerable to displacement and community members who have already been displaced. It's also an objective to align with the anti-displacement recommendations made by the executive in the Skyway-West Hill and North Highline Anti-Displacement Strategies report that was completed in September of 2021. Another objective is to invest in equitable and community-driven development projects that build wealth and financial stability in historically underserved communities. And the last objective is to provide seed funding to community-driven affordable housing projects in the early stages of development and to support community-based organizations who are leading those projects in conducting pre-development and acquisition and/or construction activities. The RFP was developed collaboratively with Skyway community members. We had 2 public meetings with the broader community to help determine the fund's uses and the direction of the RFP. And a diverse community advisory committee made up of 8 current and former residents, many of whom grew up in the neighborhood, helped develop the RFP values, criteria, application questions, and scoring rubric. The community members the committee members on the Community Advisory Committee are rooted in communities most impacted by displacement and represented a diverse set of ethnic and cultural backgrounds and included parents, artists, advocates, renters, and homeowners. So the RFP is intended for applicants and projects that align with the RFP values. These values were created by the Community Advisory Committee, and we won't have time to go through each one in detail tonight, but they're listed here on the slide, and they are detailed in the RFP guidelines document. So who can apply? This slide goes over some of the minimum requirements. Because this fund intends to support community-driven projects in various stages, applicants do not need to have prior development experience or a development partner identified to be eligible to apply. They also don't need to have a site identified or have site control in order to apply. However, applicants must meet the following minimum requirements to be considered. So they must be a nonprofit organization that is either a CBO, community-based organization, or CBO for short, located in Skyway-West Hill, or a community-based organization with a history of providing programs or services specifically designed to serve Skyway-West Hill residents, or a nonprofit developer or organization that's working in partnership with a community-based organization that meets one of the first two criteria. The second requirement is that the proposed project must be an affordable housing capital project that includes income restricted housing for the following income levels. And the income levels are based on our fund source restrictions, as well as community priorities that were identified in the anti-displacement report engagement work. And it should be noted that projects that intend to serve lower income levels may be prioritized. So for affordable rental housing, units must serve households with incomes at or below 60% of the King County's area median income. And for affordable homeownership projects, units must serve households with incomes between 50 and 80% of the area median income. The location of the proposed affordable housing project must be in the Skyway-West Hill area of King County. And in the RFP, there's a link to the map of the eligible area, as well as a link to King County's 2021 area median income and rent levels as published by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. And the applicant must have a record of demonstrating organizational, racial, and social equity values. In summary, we're looking for applicants that meet the minimum requirements and also have strong ties to Skyway-West Hill and are aligned with the RFP values, have a clear and compelling affordable housing project concept, have capacity to carry out the near-term project work, and can describe how they would use the funds to further their project. So awards from this RFP can be made for pre-development up to a $500,000 maximum per project, and acquisition and or construction up to $2 million per maximum per project. Applicants can apply for one use or for both pre-development, acquisition, and or construction for a maximum of $2.5 million per project. Pre-development funds can be used for costs including but not limited to hiring a broker to help identify potential sites, completing due diligence and feasibility studies to see if a site is suitable for an affordable housing project, fees to hire consultants such as a development consultant, architect, engineer, and lawyers, as well as costs associated with site control and land holding. Acquisition and or construction funds can be used for paying for the property, legal fees, land holding costs, and if the acquisition is of an existing building with occupants, then funds can be used for health and safety inspections and repairs, and rehabilitation of an existing building to develop new units, as well as hard construction costs. If applying for both pre-development and acquisition, projects will need to complete an appraisal, an initial environmental assessment, and preliminary site capacity plan before accessing any acquisition funds. So we anticipate funding 2 to 3 projects total from this RFP and intend to support at least one affordable homeownership project and at least one affordable rental project. So I'm going to pass it to Joanna now.
Thank you, Yasmeen. As the RFP coordinator, I'm going to talk a little about the application process. So as the RFP coordinator, I'm the central point of contact for any questions or concerns or feedback, and I can be reached at the email address you see here, dchscontracts@kingcounty.gov. And the link you see above to Zoom Grants is the application that can be completed online. And we will accept applications or proposals in 2 different ways. We'll accept online through Zoom Grants or by email. So anybody can put all the applications materials together and submit via email to the address you see in front of you. Proposals are due by 1:00 p.m. on Monday, March 28th. And leave it in the middle of the day just in case there's any last minute technical difficulties. We can help help straighten that out. Next slide. And we are excited to be partnering with Communities Rise. They'll be offering applicants up to an hour of grant writing assistance, and any applicants will be able to work with experienced consultants in this area. And the support is designated for applicants that serve communities impacted by systemic oppression and who do not have staff on hand who are dedicated to grant writing like some other organizations do. So we do have a deadline of March 14th to request this assistance, and that's just to make sure that the providers can actually have enough time to review the materials and be able to work with the applicants. And you can see in front of you on the right-hand side the kind of assistance that these consultants can provide.
I just dropped a link to where you can go to find more information about this grant writing assistance as well.
Thank you. And the online link that we have provided here is also where you can find all the RFP documents. So there are several documents involved, including the actual application, some guidelines, glossary, and other useful information. So if you want to access those documents, you can go to the link here and click on the library tab, and you can download every one of those documents. And again, questions or feedback, please contact me as the RFP coordinator at this email address. So now that this is a live procurement, we do have to rely on the single point of contact. So yeah, please make sure you're reaching out to me with any questions.
Yeah, so if there are any questions, we can answer them now if there's time, or if you want to send us questions afterwards.
Yeah, definitely. Or we can circle back if some come into the chat. Thank you for sharing this information with us. All right. Great. I believe we have 2 or 3 more presentations to go. So our timing is looking pretty good. So Heather Eklund and Sunnie Park from King County Housing Authority. I'll let you two take it away. Oh, we can't actually hear you, Sunnie. You are unmuted, but we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Sorry. Thank you. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Sunnie, and I'm a development manager at King County Housing Authority. And I'm here today with my colleague, Heather Eklund, to introduce you to a weatherization program that we provide in our jurisdiction. Since this is our first WHCA meeting we are presenting, so I wanted to give you a quick introduction of King County Housing Authority. We are a public agency independent from King County governing body. We provide various types of rental housing and assistance in 34 cities in King County, supporting over 22,000 households, except in the city limit of Seattle and Renton. King County Housing Authority owns, manages, and operates over 100 properties across the county. Some of the assistance we provide, for example, are Section 8 vouchers for low-income households and Veterans Affairs Supportive Housing, housing choice vouchers for homeless veterans and their families. In the Skyway-West Hill neighborhood in recent years, we have been working with several community organizations like RISP and WHCA on Skyway Resource Center project at the former US Bank site, providing technical support related to development and construction. We also own and operate one property, Aspen Ridge, in Skyway-West Hill neighborhood. So now I'll pass it to Heather, who will give a presentation on the weatherization program, which is one of the main operations that King County Housing Authority provide to help low-income homeowners and renters reduce their energy costs. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Heather Eklund. I am the Weatherization Program Manager at the King County Housing Authority. We run the low-income weatherization program that's been in place since the late 70s, but obviously has evolved over the years to accommodate new technology and other benefits. And I'm going to talk a little about the types of homes we serve, the income qualifications, the application process, and what we do for our clients. Okay, so the types of homes that we serve are single family. It's going to be either site built or mobile homes. We do both kinds of homes, and they're going to be either owner or renter occupied. We also do multifamily housing that is typically housing authority or some sort of nonprofit housing provider. We also do private owners, as you can see is italicized there, just because of the fact that for housing authority and nonprofit owned properties, they track the income eligibility of their tenants because there's some sort of subsidy that's attached to that unit that the tenant lives in. With privately owned properties, it's not that we can't serve them, it's just that they're a little more difficult to prove their income eligibility to participate within the program. The income qualification, in the single family homes, as I said, they can be owner or a rental. They can be owner occupied or a rental property. But when we're qualifying the single family home, it is only the tenant's income or the owner living in the home. It's their income that we're looking at. So we're not looking at the private owner of a single family rental. We're not evaluating their income. It's just the people that live there within that household. For duplexes, we can qualify half, so one of the two units. Only one of them has to be income eligible, and the other unit can be not, of a higher income or can be occupied by the owner, and we can serve the entire duplex with weatherization. Same thing with multifamily. Half of all of the units have to be income eligible, and we can serve the entire building or project with weatherization. We operate off of the 60% state median income limit or 200% federal poverty level, whichever is greater. And it is the gross income of the household. So we have to take into account anybody who is out of high school and over 18, anybody who's earning an income in that household, and it's the gross income. There's very limited income deductions that can be taken, and that is established by the federal guidelines for the Weatherization Assistance Program. And one of the reasons why we do the duplexes as a whole and the multifamily properties as a whole is because you receive the greatest energy efficiency when you address the entire building envelope. So we wouldn't want to weatherize one side of a duplex because you're going to realize the most energy savings when you do the entire building. Just as you would with multifamily, you're not going to just weatherize the only income eligible units, you do the entire property. Our service territory is all of King County outside of the city limits of Seattle. They have their own weatherization program. So if we were to receive a client who's within the city limits of Seattle, we would refer them to that program. But the ones who are in our jurisdiction and our service territory, most often they're either going to be either Puget Sound Energy customers or Seattle City Light customers. Most of our clients are PSE. The application process in itself, we do have paper applications that used to kind of tend to be the old school way that we would do those. Since COVID, we had to become a little more dynamic and incorporate electronic applications, and we use DocuSign, which has actually been very successful. We have a pretty high rate of return, and people find that to be pretty accessible with ease because they can attach all of their income documentation and required information to the DocuSign application. The types of documentation that we need to qualify a household would obviously be their identification, the verification of their income, however they earn that income, whether it's pay stubs, Social Security, however they receive it, an ownership verification. Typically, we can check King County Assessor for ownership, but for mobile homes, for example, we would have to have a title to verify who the owner is. We need copies of their utility usage for the most recent 3 months, and then any other needed documentation to qualify the household. Some of the typical measures that we do, the thing that we do first and foremost is once we're going to start a project, we're going to provide them with an energy audit, and we use a house as a system approach, meaning we're going to go into the crawl space, the attic, we're going to take a look at the wall insulation, the existing fans that are in the home that provide the ventilation. And then from that, we have to determine what our measures are going to be performed based off of savings to investment ratios. So the cost of the measure has to save as much money as it costs, essentially. So we can do insulation, air sealing, ventilation. Those are the most typical weatherization measures. And we also take a look at heating and cooling. We're either servicing an existing system or replacing it with something that's more efficient if it's at the end of its useful life or a technology improvement. We also do respiratory health improvements. If there is a diagnosed respiratory illness in the household, there's other funding we can pull from to alleviate triggers that make it more difficult for somebody who has a respiratory illness like asthma. And we also partner with Seattle King County Public Health and deploy a community health worker to usually the asthmatic occupant in the home that will work with them and try to work with them and having them not use their rescue inhaler as often. Sometimes it's just providing them with green cleaning tools and things like that to alleviate some triggers in the household. Some of the potential benefits of the work that we do, obviously the goal is to lower their utility bills so they're not paying as much money out every month, and they can take that money saved and point it elsewhere within their household. We are improving the indoor air quality by the increased ventilation, increased comfort year-round within the home. Not only are we wanting them to heat their home efficiently and cost-effectively, but with the changing climate, we also have the opportunity to provide heat pumps that can keep them cool in the winter as well, or in the summer, excuse me. We also want to increase their housing sustainability because they're not having to worry about things like replacing their furnace or their attic insulation, and they can remain in their home for a longer period of time. And then, as I mentioned, we also are doing things like alleviate some asthmatic triggers within the home. The cost coverage of this program, we're basically entirely grant funded. There is not a lien placed on the home for the work that we do. This is a grant provided to the homeowner or the property owner. Our funding is pulled from federal, state, and utility funds. There is, at times, there can be owner contribution. Usually that's going to be only when something such as, we're going to use as example, windows, because windows are fairly expensive. And as I said, they have to save as much money every year as they cost. And windows typically don't always do that because they are so expensive. So that doesn't mean that, say, a property owner, for example, I had a duplex that had 2 tenants. The owner was elsewhere and he really wanted to invest in a capital improvement and replace all of the windows within that duplex, and he paid for that. So that would be the kind of contribution that somebody would do for the program, but they're not necessarily having to pay for any of the other weatherization work that we do that has a savings to investment ratio. Owners also have to contribute in a way through certain other agreements. For example, they can't sell the home within a certain amount of time once they've received these improvements for that home because they have an income qualified tenant. Certain agreements they have to enter into, but nothing too strenuous. So our client intake, as I said, we have DocuSign applications. The best way to get an application is to either call us or email us, because there's some preliminary intake that we do that's going to ask the household about some of the dynamics that are taking place, where they're located, et cetera. So we prefer that they reach out and they will get them an application, whichever way is most comfortable for them, either through DocuSign or through the mail. And we do have people that can help them with navigating a DocuSign application if they do in fact need it. Most people find it pretty easy to do. So that's the summary of the program. If anybody has any questions or if there's anything in the chat, I'd be glad to answer that.
Thank you. And I see Sunnie posted some links in the chat as well, so we'll make sure that folks get those. Great. We appreciate all the information that you shared here. Okay, Seattle is definitely not a kind climate to our homes and places that we live in. Okay, I kind of lost our agenda here. Give me one moment. Here we are. Okay, I think up next we have John Taylor with King County Local Services. Awesome.
Hi, everybody. I am going to share a PowerPoint, if that's okay, and I'm going to be fast. If you would give me presenting privileges, that would be awesome.
I think they were just given to you. Go ahead and try again.
Got it. All right. So I'm here to talk this evening about fireworks prohibition that the council passed in 2021. If people remember back to the July 4th of 2019, we had two really tragic fires in unincorporated King County. And let me just take a step back. John Taylor, Director of the Department of Local Services for King County. So we're your local government in unincorporated King County. And on that July, we had a really tragic fire in White Center where fireworks caught a house on fire. A carport had spread to the house, and an elderly gentleman who was living inside perished, as did their dog. And in Fairwood, we had an apartment fire, and we had a woman perish in that fire as well, same night. In the wake of that, the King County Council, led by Councilmember McDermott, in collaboration with the county executive, drafted and passed a fireworks ordinance. And it was adopted last year. It goes into effect this year, and it prohibits the use of personal fireworks, and it'll basically, there'll be no more fireworks stands in unincorporated King County. It does still allow for public displays, so you can still go places and watch fireworks, but you just can't buy them and you can't set them off. So it goes into effect this 4th of July, but when the council passed it, they, trying to change my slide, there we go. They put a delay in the imposition of this for 1 year so that we could do education and outreach, and this is sort of the beginning of that. They also asked the Department of Local Services, us, to do a study on approaches to enforcement. So we both have criminal penalties and civil penalties for violating this. And the first year, as I said, will be education, and the second year, so 4th of July of 2023, we would actually begin enforcing it. And one of the things that we've been wrestling with is how do we enforce it? When this was passed, there was concern amongst some council members about having sheriff's deputies going out and enforcing this and having situations escalate and unfortunate events ensuing. And they wanted us to evaluate whether we should be doing in-person enforcement with non-armed, non-police folks. And we've been kind of evaluating that, if we could use our code enforcement staff or fire marshals to do that work. And we're still trying to figure that out. There are complexities with that. What we're going to be recommending is probably a non-in-person system where if you were a resident and you saw people setting off lots of fireworks, you would call 911 and they would route your call to a voicemail box that we've established, or we will establish. You would leave all the details of that violation. And in this first year, the person will get a warning letter. And then next year on that first offense, they would get a warning letter, and then a second complaint would get them a citation. And they would always have an option to appeal a citation or a fine. We really decided that having our code enforcement staff or fire go out and do this work doesn't make sense. We're still kind of noodling on that, but that's sort of where we're leading right now. And we want to hear from the public if you have thoughts on that. So, please share them here. And if you have further thoughts, feel free to share them with me. I'll leave my my email in the chat. So we're doing this outreach. We're going to begin a formal public comment period in March, where we're going to post a copy of the ordinance that would authorize these changes. And then in June, we will deliver a final recommended code change and a report to the council, kind of describing all the outreach we've done and our thinking around this. And then the council will act on that in time for this 4th of July. So that's really it. Mostly we just want to get out, let people know that this is coming. And if you have thoughts on that, the approach to enforcement that I just described, let me know. And you can do it now, or you can do it anytime you want to. And as I said, I'll put my contact info in the chat. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen unless people have questions that require this. Yeah.
Thank you, John. There is one question here. Does this citation and fine still mean violators will get a misdemeanor on their record? How will they protect against abuse of the hotline? Would the appeal process be easy to use?
If they're charged with a misdemeanor, they would have a misdemeanor on their record. It could very well be that what they get is a civil penalty, and the appeal process will be very easy. And I think that the challenge with this approach to enforcement, with folks, is our ability for appeals to withstand the challenge will be based on the quality of the information we get from people when they make the initial call in. And I think we'll learn a lot about what we get in the first year when we're just giving out warning letters, because we'll get a sense for how much information we're getting from people when they call in, just accordingly. And we have a year, this first year, that's purely educational, to figure some of this out and make adjustments, which we will do. We're good at that.
Okay. And then to clarify this question, can you get a misdemeanor if someone calls on you twice?
You know what? I don't know the answer to that question. I apologize. So I'm going to leave my contact info, and if the person who's asking that question can just reach out to me,
sure,
I will get them an answer, but I would be making it up if I answered right now.
And then I was just wondering, because I know that a lot of the kind of business parking lots or church parking lots are used by folks to set off fireworks, not at their own residence, just how that might be addressed for someone calling into the mailbox or something.
Yeah, I think that if what we're going to want from the person is the physical location where the fireworks are being set off, and as much information as they can give us. And if they're setting them off in a business parking lot or a church parking lot, that is probably where the citation would go, or the warning letter would go in the first year. And it'll be probably pretty easy for them to prove that they weren't the ones setting it off. But it would create also an incentive for folks to really make it clear that people shouldn't be setting fireworks off on their property. In the conversations with the fire district, and I wish Eric Hicks was here, we approached them first and asked if they would be willing to help us with enforcement. And kind of the response we got was, we're flat out on the 4th of July because there are fires everywhere because of all the fireworks. So we're just not available to sort of go out and do public engagement and education. There's no way. They're going to help us a lot leading up to this, and there'll be a robust education program. But on the night of, for them, it's like gearing up for a major event.
Yep. Well, thank you for kind of giving us more information on this. And yeah, it's an important piece for safety in our communities. We appreciate it.
Thank you. And so my email's in the chat. If anyone has further questions, please reach out to me and I will get you answers. And I apologize, I couldn't answer that one.
Okay. I just wanted to check here if we had Rashd Ibrahim join us on the call. If not, we'll look forward to hearing from him next time. Okay, I don't see Rashd. Well, with that, I'd like us to wrap up, and I'd like to thank all the folks who presented both in community reports and presentations. Thank you for preparing those materials and offering your contact information. I also wanted to give a shout out to Miss Jeannie for preparing our agenda and reaching out to our folks in the community who wanted to share what's going on. There's a lot of exciting things going on here in West Hill and a lot to get excited about and a lot of work to do. So we appreciate all of your effort. We know that everyone is really stretched thin in this moment, and let's keep doing the good work. Miss Jeannie, do you have anything to add?
No,
Okay.
tonight. Thank you.
All right. So with that, we will close it up, and we hope everyone has a great rest of their evening. Bye.
Good night. Good night.